In news this week, Christian groups raise concerns on tough asylum seeker laws. 7 African American churches are burnt in 10 days. And 65,000 Adventists gather for general conference meetings.
This is InFocus Christian News and Current Affairs.
Hello, it's great to have you with us. You're going to notice some changes on Record InFocus this week. We have 2 new presenters helping us out with our segments. You realise what this means though, don't you, Sybil? It means you are no longer the new girl.
That is great.
I knew you'd be excited.
Now today, Monica Galash will be asking Trafford Fisher why men so often forget anniversaries. And in our brand new History in Focus segment, Adam Kavanagh will be opening the Dead Sea Scrolls with the editor of the archaeological diggings magazine, Gary Webster.
And it gets better, Sybil, because today I'm meeting the author of the Australian Seniors Book of the Year. He has an incredible story to tell about growing up in Poland during the Nazi occupation. You will not want to miss that. But now, it's the news.
Thanks, Kent. Despite concerns being raised by doctors' groups, Christian organisations and others, both major parties have pushed ahead in the Australian Parliament to strengthen the offshore detention regime for asylum seekers who arrive by boat. The Border Force Act, which came into effect last week, has been widely criticised for its criminal penalties of up to 2 years' imprisonment for doctors or teachers who speak out publicly on conditions in immigration detention centres. The Labour Party also lent its support to an 11th-hour rescue, voting together with the government to rush through new legislation that protects the offshore detention regime from a legal challenge in the High Court. Christian advocacy group Love Makes a Way expressed disappointment and said that the legislation change only serves to smooth over the injustice. We all know sugary drinks are bad for us, but new research published by the American Heart Association suggests our unhealthy habits may prove to be fatal. After looking at worldwide dietary and disease patterns, the researchers suggested that each year around 184,000 deaths can be explained by the consumption of sugar-sweetened beverages. The immediate causes of death are diabetes, followed by cardiovascular disease and cancer.
With soft drinks, there's a lot of sugar in it, and because of that, there's a lot of free radicals and that sort of thing that destroys the body, that creates all these problems. Water is a simple drink. That was what God gave us right from the beginning, and it's the safest fluid, if you like, water, a fluid for the human body.
Evangelical Christians in the south of the Philippines are speaking out against a planned law that they fear would put militant Muslim separatists in charge of parts of the country's southern islands. The autonomous region of Muslim Mindanao has been in existence for some decades, but violence against government and civilian targets by armed separatist groups has continued. According to Morning Star News, a federal government plan to further increase the region's level of independence has led to fears that Sharia law could be introduced and Christians would become second-class citizens. The dilemma is, however, that if agreement with the rebel groups is not reached, the violence will likely continue. After attending United Nations human rights meetings, a Seventh-day Adventist representative has warned that appreciation for religious freedom as a fundamental human right is waning. According to Adventist News Network, Ganun Diop, the church's UN liaison officer, said that the cause of people imprisoned for their faith has been particularly neglected. Apart from a small number of high-profile cases, Dr. Diop said stories of prisoners of conscience receives little publicity. His criticism extended to his own church, which, he said, should do a better job of tracking and supporting its members when they are imprisoned for their faith. In what appears to be a series of deliberate and racially motivated attacks, 7 church buildings used by predominantly African-American congregations have been burned in a 10-day period. The churches are owned by a variety of denominations, including Baptist, Churches of Christ, and Seventh-day Adventist, and are mainly located in America's South. One of the fires is likely to be accidental, but 3 have been confirmed as arson. Police are investigating the remaining 4. After last month's mass shooting at a church in Charleston, South Carolina, the discussion has intensified about the continued presence of racism in the United States. 65,000 Seventh-day Adventists from around the world have gathered in San Antonio, Texas, for the denomination's 5-yearly General Conference meetings. According to the Adventist Review, it's the city's biggest ever convention, with the visitors expected to inject $41 million into the local economy. Early in the meetings, Dr. Ted Wilson was re-elected to a second term as president of the World Church with a strong majority. Later in the week, the much-anticipated vote on women's ordination was held. Adventists in Papua New Guinea have set a new standard in church service projects, building a new maternity ward for a rural community in just 2 weeks, while also running free clinics and providing nightly health talks. Hundreds of volunteers were involved in the outreach project at Berrina, northwest of Port Moresby. Their efforts also included a town cleanup, maintenance of disadvantaged families' homes, and life skills training. Locals were so impressed that they donated land for an Adventist church to be built. Privacy rights campaigners have long resisted the growing surveillance of security-conscious governments, but now it seems churches are getting in on the act too. According to Fusion.net, claims are being made that facial recognition software is being used in at least 30 churches around the world. According to the company that developed the Churchix system, these congregations are being scanned by cameras, and the software is able to keep track of who's turning up for worship and who's not. Although church leaders are being encouraged to let members know they're being filmed and tracked, there's no guarantee that the message is getting through. The shortlist for the 2015 Australian Christian Book of the Year has been released by Christian literature ministry Spark Lit. Among the possible winners at next month's awards ceremony in Melbourne are Michael Gladwin's History of the Australian Army Chaplains, The Doubter's Guide to the Bible by John Dixon, and Anne Wicknell's Spiritual Handbook for Staying Strong Through Busy Times. Sparklet is also looking at entries for the Young Australian Christian Writer of the Year and Australian Christian Teen Writer of the Year. And that's this week's news. Kent?
Thanks, Sibel. Stay with us because straight after the break you'll meet Adam Kavanagh and his new segment, History in Focus.
Every week, It Is Written is available to millions of free-to-air viewers throughout Australia, New Zealand, New Guinea and the Pacific. It Is Written's Gary Kent regularly takes viewers to the far corners of the globe to report on new evidence and discoveries that confirm the Bible and Christian beliefs. It Is Written also provides medical care to remote Pacific Island communities. Join Gary Kent each week for It Is Written. See television guides in the It Is Written website for broadcast times. It Is Written with Gary Kent. It really is television that changes lives.
Hi, welcome back. We're here on History in Focus, a brand new segment where we'll be digging up the mysteries of the ancient past. I'm Adam Kavanagh and I'm here with Gary Webster, the editor at Archaeological Diggings magazine. Gary, how you going?
Good, Adam, and glad to be here.
Good to have you here, mate. Now, I'd have to be blind to not realise that we've got a pretty long-looking piece of paper sitting right in front of me. Do you want to tell me a little bit about it?
Yeah. This is a copy, a replica of the famous Dead Sea Scrolls and the Book of Isaiah in actual fact.
Okay, great. Dead Sea Scrolls, they're named that because...
Well, they were found down in the Dead Sea here in Israel. On the northwestern edge of the Dead Sea, you have a place called Qumran.
Okay.
And they discovered you can see these caves here.
Not a highly attractive looking place to hang out.
Not really, but very, very hot. But a couple of kids, actually, Bedouin boys, were minding their goats up here back in 1947, and basically they discovered these old scrolls.
Okay, great. And what kind of, so what's on the scroll? You said Isaiah?
Well, first of all, let's talk about their age, because they're very expensive, and being old is one of the reasons. These date back to about 100 to 200 BC.
So 100 to 200 years before Christ.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
They knew that based on coins they found with some of the scrolls, the style of the script you know, because script styles change through time. So the experts know this comes from that period, and also from radiocarbon dating. So these are very old.
Okay, great. And what kind of thing, when we look at them, what are we expecting to read?
Well, I think first of all, the most important thing is they are the oldest, pretty well, you know, this is a complete copy of Isaiah almost.
Yeah.
1,000 years older than the previous one that they had. Now, the reason it became fascinating for scholars was this. People thought, well, look, if you copy a copy of something and then you copy a copy of the copy and you keep on copying down through time, you're going to introduce a bunch of mistakes.
Yeah, like what we'd expect with Chinese whispers or something,
exactly,
you know, kids' games. Okay, okay, but it's not like that.
Well, no. What they discovered when they compared these old scrolls with the oldest ones they had and the Bible that, you know, we have in our homes or hotels today, essentially there's no change in meaning for in general. It's
okay,
just
which is
the same.
something I know myself, like you get these questions where people are like, well, you know, you can't trust the Bible because it's got so many translations and it was written by man, you know, and it was written so long after Jesus was around, I guess you could say. But you're saying that the meaning that was found on these scrolls is basically the same as what we're reading
absolutely,
today.
Absolutely. And that's important for the point you made about, you know, hey, have things changed through time? Maybe we haven't got the same sort of Bible they used back then, but that's been laid to rest. And even now we have an older copy of a part of the Bible, there's some little silver scrolls. They date back to about 600 BC, and they are saying the same thing we have in the Bible today too.
Wow, it's amazing stuff, isn't it? You know, it's reaffirming to know that the book hasn't changed over thousands of years. We've got the same scriptures as what Jesus would have read, I guess. And so,
pretty much,
yeah, for me, that's pretty confident stuff. Thanks again for that, Gary, for that faith-affirming fact.
I'm glad to be able to help there.
Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more Record in Focus right after the break.
Travel back in time to ancient civilizations through this bi-monthly magazine, Archaeological Diggings. This month, Diggings goes inside the amazing burial mound at Amphipolis in Greece, a site to rival the tomb of King Tut. But who is buried there? We look at the claim that Jesus' bodily remains have been unearthed, along with those of his family. And we also bring you the latest news from the fascinating world of archaeology. Don't miss an issue. Subscribe online or ask for Archaeological Diggings at your local newsagent.
Planning your future can be a daunting task. What you want to do, who you want to be, and the road ahead can often be unpredictable. No one really knows what the future holds. Avondale. It's education designed for life.
Why is it that your husband can remember the footy scores from 10 years ago, but he can't even remember your anniversary? We're here with our resident family life educator, Trafford Fisher. Trafford, tell us, is it a myth? Do men really have such terrible memories?
They're good at footy scores.
Yes,
You're right.
they are.
They're good at footy
Useless
scores.
information.
Yeah. Anything useless like the boat serial number on an engine on their boat and trailer, and look, it's kind of a guy thing.
It just doesn't seem to warm a woman's heart, knowing useless information like scores.
I think the key motive, it's not malice, it's mindlessness. They tend to forget because to them that's kind of assumed. It's not so important.
Because it comes across as being unimportant to them when they don't remember.
And I think that's where the heat is in this issue, because for a woman it is important.
Yeah.
Right? How does a woman feel loved? I feel loved when my husband lets me know I'm number one, and he does that by remembering all the little events,
That's
the anniversaries, the cards. That to her is really neat, powerful messages of I'm loved, I'm number one to this guy.
I'm remembered, I'm not forgotten.
Yes, exactly.
I'm important to him.
I count, I'm in there. Whereas for a guy, I think he kind of assumes that, and someone suggested on this actually, Monica, that for a guy, if he feels safe in a relationship, he tends to focus much more on kind of the big outdoor stuff, because that's all cared for. Yeah. That's all safe, it's all tucked away, it's in the bag. I'll do the big stuff and I'll care for the house and the car and all that. So that little stuff, it doesn't really matter. But it does. I think it does. That's the message the ladies tell. It does matter. So we've got to get the guys to remember, buy them a calendar. Yeah, you know.
Are there any other tips? I mean, I have a friend who got married on the 11th of the 11th of the 11th, which was his birthday as well, just so he would never forget. But surely men can't all get married on a specific day. What else can they do to help them remember?
Maybe they could choose April 1 or something, Fool's Day. No, look, serious. I think there's an app that you can get.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that talks about a legend husband who has all the memory, all the dates for important dates. Count it on the wall and be prepared to take hints. Get the wife to give some hints. Hey, it's my birthday on Friday. Just wondering if we could do something special. It's under focus.
Give them a little helping shove.
It'll be fine.
Oh, great. Well, that's good to know that there is some sort of a cure for it.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
It's fixable.
Thanks, Trafford.
Thank you, Monica.
We'll see you right after the break.
Signs of the Times, a magazine for a world on the brink. And this month in Signs, is there really a place reserved to burn sinners for eternity? Why your morning ritual may be negatively impacting your health. There are Facebook friends and then there are real-life friends. How the Magna Carta, signed 800 years ago, shaped our world today. All in this month's Signs of the Times. Subscribe to Signs today and change your life.
Well, this year, 2015, we remember the 70th anniversary of one of the darkest periods of human history, and that is the Second World War. And here with me today is a man who lived through that as a young boy and a teenager, and that is Pastor Paul Ciesla. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
Now, you've done what a lot of people have been afraid to do, and that's to actually talk about the difficulties that went on in your family and in your town during the Second World War. It's very, very painful stories for some people, but you've actually written this book, No Heil Hitler, which I found very, very powerful. Can you give us just some idea of what the Nazi occupation meant for you in your family, in your village in Poland?
Now, when the Nazi occupation came, 1939, and soon we were targeted as a first church because they closed our churches. There came a SS trooper to our church on Sabbath morning, and he said, you can have only one sermon, one hymn, one prayer. And then they never permitted to come here again for any worshipping purpose.
Wow.
And they associated us with the Jewish people because we kept the seventh-day Sabbath.
Okay.
Not the first day of
So
the
your church was a Seventh-day Adventist church?
Yeah, we were Adventist church.
Were other churches in your village closed down?
Oh, yeah, there are plenty of other churches. But we were mostly focused because they felt they kept the Saturday as the Jews, so they must be related together. And they accused us about that. Not only the German, but many others.
Boy, okay.
And so that started the problem.
Yeah. So during this period, I mean, your family was separated, your father had to go away for a while, your brother had to go away for a while, you even had to run away for 2 years to be a shepherd off in a mountain. That would have been a hard time for your family.
Very hard time, and mainly the reason was that we were brought up as Christian, and the greeting Heil Hitler comes from Heiland, which means Savior. And my father taught us that we should never, this is a sort of blasphemy, and we should never use that as a greeting. So we said good morning, guten Tag, guten Abend, guten Morgen, but never Heil Hitler.
Which is why you named your book.
That's why. That's the reason for the title.
Yeah. Your mother in particular was very strong on this, wasn't she?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, boy. So can you just tell us maybe one of those experiences that just sticks in your mind as maybe when you might have been very afraid and you saw, I guess, God come through for you? Because I know time and time again you felt God was with you through this period.
Now, there are five stories which I would call now or never.
Yeah.
We have to speak to God now or never. But the one, it was very, very first one, which was very frightening. When on Friday evening we had a Sabbath beginning worship as a family, and suddenly there was the German Gestapo with the soldier surrounded this house and knocked strongly the door. My father opened the door. Where have you been? Where have you been? And he said, we were inside. He slapped him at the face because he said, you are lying. Now, we didn't know what was going on, and they put us together, the family, against the wall in one room, and the German SS trooper with the machine gun and the other were searching the house and the farm around the bars where the cows were and everywhere, because they noticed that we are harboring somebody.
They thought maybe there were some Polish partisans or freedom fighters who were hiding in your property.
That's right. They have seen somebody. We later found out. And so, as he kept us against the gun, covering us against the machine gun, every now and then he said, this is your last day. This is your last moment. So the kids started crying, Mommy, Mommy, Mommy. And he shouted again and he said, stop these kids crying and talking, because that will only speed up the end. So Mommy tried to cool them down, but that was really shocking. We felt that this is our family end time. And that was unbelievable painful. Not knowing any future. So that my mother breathed a prayer to God and said, God, now we need you. That's the end. And the situation changed.
Okay.
And it's described in the book.
Yeah,
which I cannot go into detail, but the reader will find it.
I mean, they're incredible stories. Your house was, how far from the Auschwitz camp?
About 80 kilometers,
about 80
75.
Kilometers. So sometimes you had people coming through your town who'd actually escaped from Auschwitz, which I didn't even know happened. And one man who was actually from your town who you prayed for, and he was actually managed to be released, which is, that's a miracle in my book.
That was our neighbour.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I went to Auschwitz when I was 17. I visited there when I was in Poland. You also visited Auschwitz at about the same age after the war.
Yeah.
And you said you found that very traumatic, and you struggled a lot with, I guess today we would call it post-traumatic stress disorder, would you call it?
The complex of fear. After the war, I couldn't, I was going down the street and somebody from the opposite side approached me. I turned left or right into the snow or forest because he's a potential killer. That was the complex which I have to work for a long time to release myself.
But it seems it was love and beauty and God that really made the difference to you.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, it was a girl, wasn't it?
That little girl, and I thank God for that. That experience changed completely my outlook upon world and people and upon God.
That you realise there is good in the world and there is beauty in the world. You went on to be a pastor for many years. Do you find that the painful times that you went through and the trauma that you felt was helpful in relating to other people who were going through hard times?
Oh yeah, in a case that I could understand better people, that helped me. In another case, it was that I was more patient with people because somebody was patient with me.
Yeah, sure. Now, this book actually is the winner of Australia's National Seniors Literary Prize.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Now, I had a friend who was helping me a little bit, and he knew that this organization in Australia every year evaluate books, manuscripts.
So unpublished manuscripts. Yeah, okay.
And they received 55 different manuscripts from different writers from all over Australia. And mine was one. But when I was submitting this manuscript, I was advised to delete a little bit this, as they call it, the religious propaganda.
Not so religious, please, they said. Okay.
Because they will not be happy with it. This book will be not evaluated as much worth. And I said, no way. I will betray my God, I will betray my friends, my family, many people who are looking to me as describing the intervention of God in their life.
Oh, that's right. I mean, this is a man who stood up to the Nazis. I mean, a couple of book editors aren't going to make you afraid, are they?
And so can you imagine when we were invited for the presentation meeting of the book which won the first prize. I received personal letter and the address where should I come into Melbourne. And then when this was one of the evaluating professor, he said, we received 56 manuscripts, we reduce it to 11, and now I will just say a few words about this 11. So he said 11, 10, 9, 8, and I said, oh my God, I will be somewhere in the 20s. And never expecting that.
Yes.
And he came to 2, and he shouted, Paul Ciesla, no Heil Hitler, first prize. I was incredible surprise.
Wow.
Incredible surprise to me. Shock, and then thanksgiving to God, because they told me, remove from this book this religious aspect, because this book will not get any attention. I said, no way. And yet this professor, one of these professors, came up to me and he said, Paul, this woman in chapter 25, she must have a great faith in God and trust in God.
Boy.
Even that was impressing him.
Yeah.
So I'm very glad that it happened this way.
That's great. Well, praise God for your faithfulness in standing strong for that and getting that recognition. If you are interested in getting a hold of this book, you can find it at hopeshop.com. You can also find it, as we say, wherever good Christian books are sold. It is around the place here in Australia. So, hey, thank you so much, Paul Ciesla. I really appreciate your time and thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you. Pleasure to do so.
We'll be back straight after the break.
Thousands of years ago, a series of ancient prophecies were disguised within a system of mysterious symbols. For centuries, these remarkable predictions have been sealed to the world until now. Check out our new Secrets of Prophecy online course today in 24 beautifully illustrated free studies at www.itiswrittenoceania.tv or call 1300 300 389 for your free copy today.
Hello, well, we've come to the end of this week's program, and what a program it's been, Kent.
Yes, I'm actually a little bit excited, Sibel. New presenters, a new segment, and meeting Paul Ciesla. That was an incredible story, and I really do recommend his book. It's a great read, honestly.
Well, if you're excited as Kent is, or even if you're not, we'd love to hear your feedback on the program. Email, Facebook and Twitter are probably the easiest methods for doing that.
Yeah, let your fingers do the talking. Hey, thanks for your company this week. We'll see you next time on Record in Focus.
God bless.